everyone, my name is Yuri Kasdorp, and we are back on week 3 of the VRS series, and we are on the big bankings of Daytona road course. One of my favorite weeks, always on iRacing, racing this in GT3s. Should be a lot of fun. Let's go over how to lap the track by yourself and see how this looks like from the onboard cam. Right, so here we are, starting a lap as usual. And we're in a nice new Porsche, shiny car. And what I found doing these laps is that the car drives really well, even on low wing. So it shouldn't be as tricky anymore as the last car was. The last Porsche. Porsche historically always good here at this track because of the traction zones, not even just the top speed. Starting lap, bringing it to the outside wall, turning in a bit and then braking just after the stripe on the road. And we want to aim for the barriers on the inside. Bring it all the way to the left here, looking at the cones on the inside as a brake marker. Try to set up a good exit. I'll try to keep it tight through the kink here. So keep it to the left hand side. Brake just before where the cones end there. Slowly bring it inside. Careful with the throttle here. Into the right side now. Get all the cones. And again, careful with the traction there, and the car will struggle a bit. I get the long back straight onto the bus stop, and the bus stop we're gonna be braking in between a thing in the 2 and 1 and the 1. And we'll have a closer look at that later. Got in the insides tiny bit everywhere. And most importantly, trying to keep the speed up through there. And not only your entry speed, but especially your exit speed is very important through there. At the long, run it to the line left. And then of course, if you want to be cheeky for a qualifying lap, you are allowed to use the bit on the apron here. That's a lap around Daytona. Alright, so here we are starting lap at Daytona. And even though there's only 5 corners, it's a very tricky track, I think, to find the speed at. When we want to be setting up the lap, we want to be setting it up to the outside here. So we want to be running close to the wall here. And then I want to turn in just before I get to this white line and turn quite a lot. And then the moment I go over this white line, I brake and I try to brake in a straight line. So what it looks like, we go to the outside, turn in, start to brake and try to straight your steering wheel under braking as much as you can. You can do 2 things. You can either brake to the middle of the track here, so the white line. What I like to do, brake to the outside here. There's a bit of off-camber here, like the track goes like this a bit. Bring it to the right side. And then you want to look at this tire barrier on the inside and just aim for that. You want to get as close to this barrier as you can to the tires. So from the outside, there is a bit of grass there, but I promise you, if you barely miss this, you're not going to hit the grass and you're going to have a purple sector 1. So from the outside here, bring it to the inside. And then after you pass the tires, you want to hug the inside grass a tiny bit. Back into the power. The turn 2. It's hard to see the brake markers here on the inside and the cones, and there's nothing really on the outside. So the way I like to do it is get as far to the left as I can here, and then start braking when the cones, a couple cones here, disappear from me in the front windscreen. The way that looks like. So when I'm braking here, on this point here, I start to brake when the cones hit like the center of the windscreen or the outside of my middle monitor. That's what I use as a brake marker here. And then we try to get to the outside a bit. We don't try to hug the inside immediately here where there's no curb yet. And the reason we do this is try to get a good exit from here. I only hit the curb towards the end here. and slowly start to build traction. Lost traction a tiny bit here. Even in the Porsche, it's still possible. I found that this new Porsche, it has a lot better balance high speed, a lot better balance low speed as well. But the traction has reduced a bit, so you have to be careful on the power here on the exit. And then you run all the way to this outside curb here, the yellow one. Small straight here. And then we have a very wide kink, but even this wide here, we're trimming down the car so much for the straights with a low rear wing. It's quite tricky to keep it tight here, and you want to make sure that you're not running all the way to the right side here. That way you can set up the next corner nicely from the outside. And how we do that is we try to go as far to the left side as we can here. And then from this point here, see how I've turned a tiny bit already towards the corner while I was still on the throttle. From this point here, around the middle of these cones here, again, there's not really a brake marker, so you're going to have to find exactly what point you're comfortable braking yourself. This point here in the middle, we brake, and we brake to a point here in the middle that's a continuation of this black line in the middle of the track. What this looks like from inside the car. We don't brake for the inside here, but we aim for the middle of the track here. So we brake, 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 brake. And once we're here, so the middle of this track here, on the black line, we start turning for the apex, and the apex only appears now. So at this point here, where the corner already kind of starts, there's no apex yet. So we bring it to the middle here, and then we slowly bring it to the inside here, and then the curb starts to get tighter and tighter and tighter. And we want to get onto this curb when it starts to get tighter, and we want to follow this curve for a bit until we get to the outside. And again, watch the traction here on the exit. It's not as good as the previous Porsche version was. Then we get to the left hand onto the banking. And these cones on the left side here, they are your enemy. I don't think they can get stuck under the car anymore. I haven't had it happen to me in ages, so I think it's fairly safe to do. You can use a lot of road on the right side here, and if you use a bit more road, you're going to have a slightly better entry to the corner leading up to the oval, which means a slightly better exit, which means a bit more top speed all the way around the oval until we're at the bus stop. So what we want to do, bring the car over to the right side here, and we run a bit over this patch of grass here. This patch of grass will not upset the car enough that you'll start losing it or have an oversteer moment. Just run over this, and I try to brake when I hit this patch of grass. From the inside car, it looks like you've got past it a bit. So here and here's where we start to brake. And then at the edge of these cones, you can even clip a couple cones like this cone here. This cone is your enemy. If you want a good lap on qualifying and you want to really nail the corner, this cone needs to be sacrificed. It is what it is. So we want to brake all the way to the right here, and then we want to make sure that the car lines up with the right side tires onto this curb on the right side here. And from there, we want to start turning in, make it to the inside. And we don't want to run all the way wide here. In the LMP2, it can be a strategy to go all the way wide and kind of square the corner up. GT, you try to stay a bit tighter here and then slowly get up to power again and not run all the way wide, not all the way wide on the oval here either. And then you just need to hit your shift points. From my testing, the shift points seem to be exactly when the blue light goes on the dash, and that's not the rev limiter, so you don't want to rev the car all the way out. Then we get to the bus stop, and the bus stop I think is where most of the time is lost or made, and a really, really important corner for setting up overtakes. For making sure that you stay in the draft, and to make sure that you avoid the slowdowns as well. One small note I'll make before getting into the corner. In some cars, if your right side mirror, I haven't had it in the Porsche yet, but if your right side mirror sticks out a bit and it clips this wall on the right side there, like you try to get as close to the wall as you can, and sometimes the mirror clips the wall. iRacing seems to have implemented a feature to prevent you from wall riding in NASCAR or ovals, which makes it so that once your mirror clips the wall, it cuts off the engine. And in some cars, for me, the Audi, I did a lot of the Audi racing here last time. it cuts out the engine, and it can upset the car how it handles into the bus stop, because if the engine suddenly cuts out, the weight will go towards the front earlier and you'll miss your marker. So you need to be careful not getting too close to the wall here, or if your engine cuts out and you think maybe something's wrong with your pedals, it's not your pedals, it's the window here, the right side mirror clipping the wall. That to the braking point. Let's go from the onboard. There's this post here in the middle. So you're coming up to this, quite easy to see once you pass it through. This yellow post here, under 1. I think if you have some setting turned on in your settings, there's also a couple arrows here. I don't have those. I use this bit here, the yellow thing, and the 1, and I try to start slowing down in the middle here. So I see this post here, and then once I'm past this post, the outside post is here, I slowly start getting into the brakes. I don't really look at the 1 anymore, but I try to aim my car so that I'm 2 wheels as close to the grass here on the first one as possible. So slowly on the brakes. You don't want to hit the brakes too hard here, slowly off it as well. And then you want to make sure that you're as close to the grass here as possible. You can even clip the grass a bit here where the curb ends. This won't be an off track. This way, we set the next 2 corners up to stay tight, so you don't want to run too wide in the middle here. So for this one, we stay tight. Again, a bit of grass here on the end. And we stay really tight, really tight. We want to be on to the 3rd apex. Using a bit of grass here, hitting this apex here. And then on throttle as early as we can. I go on throttle already in the middle of the bus stop. So around here, I want to be on throttle for a good exit. And the last one, we want to make sure if you go on top, that the middle of the car doesn't go over the curb in the middle here. So that's the edge where the off track is. So this should be around the limit of the off track. You don't want to go over this line here. One thing to note as well, sometimes you feel like you're not close to the off track and you try to straight line this a bit more. But the off track keeps going and like a line through here. So it's really easy to straight line the last bit a bit more, thinking that you avoided the off track easily and then still getting off track of this last bit here. So really important to use the curbs as much as you can, and also really important to keep it tight in the middle here. And that should keep your speed up a lot. Let's play it full speed from the outside as a reference. Want to brake after that box on the left side. Keep it tight in the middle, throttle early, and make sure the middle of your car is not past that edge of the curb. After you've done that, you should have a good exit, and all you have to do is just hit your shift points and get to the end of the lap. And then, small thing as well, if you want to be racing here, so I see a lot of confusion about the racing here. You are allowed to use the apron here and under the apron. So especially if you go here, you are allowed to drive here and even pass people here during the race. The rule that they've set is that if you're on the inside here, so underneath this yellow line, you have to come back to the track when it's safe. And if there's another car here, you cannot start forcing yourself back into the track here if you're not clear on the right side. And this other car here can just keep following the yellow line on the inside, keep following the yellow line on the inside, and not really give you room to have a good entry for the next corner. So that's the rule, the precedent they've set to use when racing. And of course, we can also use it at the end of a qualifying lap. Run as close to the grass line as you can here. That should give you another 2 or 3 hundredths time. So that's a lap around Daytona. Right, so there you go. That's a lap around Daytona by yourself. But of course, the fun for this track isn't driving this track by yourself. The fun on this track is doing races on it. I think it's one of the best things to do in iRacing, GT3s around Daytona. I wish everyone a lot of fun, a lot of good luck, and see you guys in the next week's video.